In the interest of time, we will get things started. It is noon. Thanks everyone for joining us today. My name is Jasper with Score Main. I'm our client services manager here. I'm joined by Dan Reed, our Score Main marketing and program manager for today's presentation on AI for your business, unlocking the power of it and getting started with AI for your business. I do want to thank today's sponsor, the Maine Technology Institute, for having assisting us with our programs and sponsoring today's event. If you have any questions, feel free to queue them up in the chat and we'll read them off when the time's right. And we are recording today, so if you miss anything or have to head out early or are joining us late, that will be sent out once available. Dan, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, thank you so much, Jasper. I'll go ahead and start sharing my slide deck. And as Jasper had mentioned, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat and I'll answer them as we go along. And we'll also have time for questions at the end. And as Jasper was saying as well, I just want to say thank you to Norway Savings Bank, who's the sponsor of this workshop. They very gratefully sponsor SCORE in our services, and it allows us to provide workshops just like this one for no cost to you.
Apologies there.
I want to welcome everyone to AI for Small Business. And we'll go ahead and dive right in. And just in case you don't have any experience with AI, that's totally fine. We will cover the basics here, and we'll go over a prompt that I use, and we'll kind of break down what's helpful and what's not helpful. And for the folks who have a little bit of experience, at the end of the presentation, we'll be covering a lot of different AI tools that are available as well. So feel free to stick around and talk about your experience in the chat. If there's something that you do a little bit differently, please feel free to post it, and we're more than happy to kind of learn from each other. So thank you for joining us today. To kind of get started, we'll talk about the very basics. And one of those things is, what exactly is a prompt? So when you hear about AI, you hear people talking about prompt or prompt engineering quite a bit. And a prompt is really what you're asking the AI to do. A lot of times using an AI, especially when people talk about AI, they're thinking about those language models like ChatGPT. They're really talking like what ChatGPT is really like is almost like having a conversation a little bit, where you're asking someone to do something for you. And context for that is super important. An AI only has the information that you provided it in your prompt or the information that it has access to on the internet. And if you don't provide it the context that you're looking for, it could search for that context elsewhere. And that can really kind of throw off the results that it's giving you. Another thing to keep in mind is that iteration and refinement are key when it comes to working with an AI. It's probably not going to spit out the answer that you want the first time. And it takes some time kind of changing things around and maneuvering to get it to kind of work in the direction that you're really hoping, especially on a more complex topic. AI is phenomenal at things like pattern recognition, and we'll kind of get into how that can be helpful a little bit later. Another thing AI has, you want to keep in mind, and it has a little trouble with, is fact versus fiction. The information that it provides isn't always right. What it's really trying to do is give you an information or give you an answer that you want to hear, and it will sometimes make up information for that. So you always want to make sure that you're constantly checking the information that it's provided for accuracy. And another thing to keep in mind is the majority of AI at the moment that's like I would say, usable in a business setting is currently tech and office focused. There are a lot of different AI projects that are being developed at the moment, so this will change with time. But this is the area where it can be really helpful. And just to kind of give an example of what it looks like if you've never used AI before or if you're unfamiliar with ChatGPT, on the right here, I just put in a very simple request. Can you give me some resources for starting a business in Maine? And as you can see on the right here, it's listed a bunch of different resources that are available, and there are a ton of different options. Of course, it has SCORE on there, and maybe it could have been higher up the list, but it at least knows what's available and is able to help with those blind spots. Text generation. This is the one that we all really hear about. When people talk about ChatGPT or they talk about using AI, 99% of the time they're talking about text generation. Text generation uses a process called natural language processing, or you might hear it as NLP. And it's basically how these tools understand the written language. It's trained on a lot of text data. Training for an AI is basically what information does it have and how does it have context for that information. And it usually gets that information from the internet. They call it scraping, where they gather a ton of information from the internet and feed it into the AI. At the moment, there are currently three big players in this realm. You have ChatGPT, you have Claude, and then you have Gemini, which is formerly known as Bard. And these are all free versions that are a great starting point for AI, and they can significantly speed up things like admin work. And you can see here uh, on this prompt guide here that I have on screen. This is something you'll be able to see in the slides as they get shared around, but there are a bunch of different examples of how you can tweak your prompt in order to make sure that you're getting the outcome that you're looking for. And really good example of this that people don't use very often is this one at the top here, and you'll see in a parameter it says temperature. And temperature is basically giving it a license for creative control or creative thinking. So how flowery do you want it to be with its language when it responds to you? Low temperature would be more factual, and higher temperature would be that more flowery language. So that's just one way that you can quickly tweak your prompts to get different answers that might suit the tone that you're going for. And to provide a few examples of what we're looking at here when we're talking about text generation, it could be really useful for things like writing outlines for blog posts or help kind of outlining your ideas and helping with the brainstorming process. It's really great for summarizing a document. If there's a really long document and you're trying to get the highlights, it's phenomenal for that. It's also really good at writing email responses. If you copy an email into ChatGPT and then ask it to write up a response, or, hey, I really need you to tell me what the action items are here. It's really good for that. You can also use it to help create a task list, as I was saying, like kind of extract those action items that you need to take. As I had mentioned, for someone in the chat, as I mentioned, Gayla, you'll get the slides afterwards, and you'll be able to look over that prompt guide a little more after the call today. You can also use it to do things that are a little more in the realm of creative thinking, like creating a SWOT analysis or helping with a marketing plan or try a customer analysis. In the image that we have here, you can see that I asked it to do a SWOT analysis for starting a small marketing company in Maine. And it kind of goes over some very interesting points that you might want to consider and reflect on. One that I think is really relevant is point number 3 here. Maine has a really large geographic size, so it allows different kinds of outreach. But another way to think about this is in the weaknesses section, you see here at number 1, has a large size but a small population. So it can really help reframe things that you might know but might not think about when you're making decisions. And just to answer in the chat there, SWOT analysis is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and tactics. Another thing that we hear about when it comes to using AI is image generation. So we hear about it all the time. We might hear of deepfake videos or deepfake images. And when you're working with image generation, I have a few suggestions. I would really focus on, if you're trying to do image generation, focusing on the quality of the image over quantity. Provide relevant and specific details for what you want to see. And this is in a lot of ways opposed to how you might use a large language model, where you're trying to use that iteration to really get exactly what you're looking for. With image generation, you want to start with a really strong prompt and make sure that you're trying to generate exactly what you're looking for. And one of the reasons for that is most image generation platforms use tokens. So you only have a limited number of images that you can generate in a given month. So it's just something to keep in mind if you are using image generation. Don't forget to experiment with things like perspective, angle, and focal point. If you want something that's more of a faraway shot, or you want to be looking over someone's shoulder, you can put that in there and it will respond to that. A lot of image generation software will allow you to attach a reference image if there's already a vibe that you have and you want to go for. And don't forget to experiment with variation and iteration to get the image you're looking for, even if you do have limited tokens. And tools for this include things like DALL-E, Midjourney, and Getty Generative AI. And as you can see here on the right, I put together a really quick image in Runway AI where I just asked it to generate a person comfortably enjoying the beach. So some of the images or some of the uses for image generation could be really helpful for marketing collateral, especially something like a social media post or a blog post. It can be really helpful if you are just starting out and you want to spice up your professional headshot. You could take a picture with your phone, a selfie, and ask it to remove the background and put in a solid color background so it looks a little more professional. You can do things like product visualizations. Get an idea what a future product or the layout of a future space might look like without having to get it fully 3D rendered. And of course, there are things like generating a flyer for promotion or creating an infographic from any data that you might have. The big thing to keep in mind here is just to be sure that your image will be commercially safe to use. And we'll talk a little bit about this in our use cases or in use case beware section in a second here. But as I mentioned, all of this is trained on public information, which means it's trained on copywritten information. And that still hasn't really been worked out in the court system yet. And image generation is still, I would say, in its infancy in many ways. As you can see with this image that we have here, I asked a very similar prompt to our last slide. A person in a beach wheelchair enjoying the beach. In this particular instance, the AI had absolutely no idea what a beach wheelchair is, which is a specific piece of accessible equipment. We have quite a few of them here in Maine. So the only thing it could really generate was someone in a standard wheelchair. And that's just one of the limitations that the system, that AI has at the moment that will develop over time. And then you might have also heard of custom chat GPTs or a custom GPT. And what exactly is that? So a custom GPT is a tailored AI assistant designed to understand and respond based on specific needs, data, and workflows. Basically, it's a GPT that's been run on specific data or has a specific prompt put in, and you're really trying to always iterate and refine with that specific prompt or that specific data, and you're trying to constantly use that over and over again and get better and better results. It automates repetitive tasks, it can enhance efficiency and provide personalized support, helping a small business save time and resources. And it works by training on business documents, FAQs, processes, and a custom GPT can generate relevant responses and assist with decision making. And just to give it an idea of how that could be helpful, this slide in particular was summarized and created using a custom GPT. And just some more information and background for custom GPTs is you do need a plus account for ChatGPT, which is about $20 a month. You really want to identify and define your business needs, specifically tasks that you want it to handle, such as things like customer support or scheduling. Train it with your specific business data. You can set up things like integrations, so you can integrate ChatGPT with your CRM or integrate it with a chat bot to live on your website in order to respond to customer inquiries. And don't forget to test and optimize and iterate. Constantly refine and continuously refine its outputs by adjusting the prompt and fine-tuning responses. And I can almost hear it now. Wow, this sounds like an amazing silver bullet for most of the problems that I have in my office. There are considerations. One of them is the strawberry problem. And this was something that kind of reared its head last year coming into this year. If you were to ask at the time, ChatGPT, how many R's are in the word strawberry, and we all know this to be 3 R's, it couldn't really figure it out. And you can see that in the image here. It says that there are 2 R's in the word strawberry. And even when it's corrected, it insists that there are 2 R's in the word strawberry. And the reason why that is AI platforms don't really think in words the same way that we do. They convert your prompt to what they call a token, which is kind of its native language. And AI doesn't really know when it's confused or missing information. What it's trying to do is give you an answer that you like. And it doesn't really have any way to interpret whether or not the answer that it's giving is correct. And in just like in translating with any language, information can be lost between languages, which applies to AI as well. I also have in here, I have think in quotes, and I really have that because I wouldn't recommend thinking of ChatGPT as a person or a real thing. It's still a computer program, and it still has the limitations of that. So just something to keep in mind when you're working and in trying to work through any issues that you might have with ChatGPT. Some of the other considerations that you might have. Make sure that you review the privacy policies and data usage policies. There's a chance that you might not own the content that you generated, and that could be an issue with copyright. If you have data that really should be anonymous or that you really want to keep from falling into the hands of anyone else, make sure you anonymize it before you provide it to an AI chatbot. Since they're constantly iterating and they're constantly reusing the data that's provided to them to create better answers for everyone, your data, if not anonymized, might show up in someone else's results. And that's something that you want to consider. As I mentioned, check for terms of data ownership and rights and restrictions. Choose reputable vendors. If you're already working with a company that is integrating AI, that might be a good start because you already trust them with another piece of software or another thing that you're using. And as I mentioned earlier, many AI models are trained on existing work and do not provide credit or sourcing of that information. They do sometimes, and this is something that ChatGPT's thinking mode has started doing. You might also hear of Perplexity, which is an AI model that provides sourcing information. But on the whole, this is not always the case. So it's just something to keep in mind. And I can almost hear you now, like that's all great and everything. I need to know like how can I actually use this in real life, right? So I'm going to go through a case study of how I've used ChatGPT to develop a website that I was working on or to help develop a website that I was working on. What do we need to really get started with a website? We need things like a sitemap. This is the pages that we have on a website. It'd be nice to have an understanding of our competitor analysis. We need to know things like what is some SEO keywords that we might want to use on our website. What should the content look like? Do we have specific layouts that we're going for? And how do we implement that SEO and what makes the most sense? So let's develop a prompt to help us with some of these tasks. ChatGPT isn't going to be able to do everything, but in a lot of ways, ChatGPT can be very helpful in doing some of these things. And we'll kind of cover what that looks like. And just before we get into this, the prompt that I made for this, I'm going to answer questions that we have in the chat here. Diane, I do see where you're coming from. When I had originally read it, I was very shocked that it was just kind of like overtly saying no. And it couldn't figure out how many R's were in strawberry. Sonia, the AI, so the strawberry problem has been patched, but there are other instances of this existing. And it's just kind of one of those things that you want to keep in mind, that you always want to validate the information or anything that's kind of output by ChatGPT just to make sure it's correct. Peggy, this will be sent out to everyone afterwards, so you will have access to the slides, such as the prompt guide. All right. So I know there's going to be a lot of text on the next few slides, but this is the actual prompt that I use. I just kind of took out some of the identifying information to keep my client's privacy. I also blocked out some of the identifying information in ChatGPT's responses for the same reason. So this is what I put into ChatGPT. You'll see it over the course of the next few slides. I asked it to act as a web designer and marketing specialist with years of experience. I told it that I will provide a web page or topic, and I want it to provide copy suggestions for SEO, calls to action, number of photos, and content suggestions. So provide those content suggestions in what I would call bands of content, so what you can see on screen at a time. I will start by providing a list of competitors in a Google search result. So this is to get an idea of what our competitors are doing for SEO and who the competition is out there. I also provided a list of SEO keywords that we want to aim for on this website. Research these competitors and make suggestions for other SEO and keywords for long form SEO keywords. Analyze these websites to better understand how we could sell to our customers. So what I'm really doing with this here is I'm giving ChatGPT background knowledge and information. This is how I want you to respond, and this is how I want you to act, and these are the things that are relevant in the responses. Remember how I was saying earlier that ChatGPT just wants to give you an answer that you like? Right now, we're giving it parameters to understand this is what the answer that I like is going to contain all of these things. So after this, after I provide you with this web page that we are redesigning for XYZ. Our sitemap for XYZ is, and then I list the different pages that we're going to do. And then I also talk a little bit about who our ideal customers are. These are the people that we want to visit the website and how we want to speak to them when they hit the website. I also gave a little information on, in this instance, we were using Beaver Builder, which is a page builder for WordPress, so that it can give specific results and specific suggestions based on Beaver Builder or Nice Page or Elementor. And now I'm also providing some more context. So I gave it all the information of what I'm looking for in regards to a response. And then I tell it, hey, before writing, these are some of the things that I want you to do just to make sure that we're on the same page and that we're doing everything correctly. Check the provided page for existing content. If I don't provide a web page for it to provide suggestions for, I want it to ask for an outline. And this way, it doesn't just start spitting out random stuff, and we're going through like a flow chart of things to do just to make sure that we're always working on the same page, so to speak. Examine the existing writing style and word choice. Try to use similar word choice in your suggestions. Suggest keywords before writing, and be sure to incorporate keywords as if they are naturally in the writing. This is a way to just try to make sure that we have a handle on the word choice and that we're using the style of the business that we're working with in our responses. Ask for any SEO keywords to be included if none were provided. Provide multiple suggestions for headers and prefer short and punchy but relevant language. And this is more just on the industry side of things. It's what we're really doing is we're looking to get someone to stop scrolling down the page. Using ChatGPT. So a lot of times ChatGPT can, if you've used it before, you know that it really loves using emojis and hashtags in just about every response that it gives. So I put some style guidelines out there. This is how I want it to sound when you provide me with a response. Tone should be confident, clear, and human. It should sound like a smart friend sharing something useful. Keep it short and scroll stopping. Make it easy to skim. Avoid jargon or filler. Don't use industry language. If it sounds like marketing copy, rewrite it. So in a lot of ways, these are things that we would kind of expect ChatGPT to already be doing. But that's it. Just as I just saw in the chat there, it loves M dashes. That is 100% true. Even when I put in the style guidelines, don't use M dashes and use commas, it still will use M dashes. So just something to keep in mind when you're reviewing your own content. So let's take a look at what the output looks like. So I'd given it this long prompt with a very specific example that we're going for, or specific information that we're going for here, and a specific output. So I'd given it the web page that we're looking at as a base, and here are the suggestions for the quote unquote bands of content or the pages of content that we're looking for. And it started off really strong. We'll have a hero section with a full width photo, have a headline with a subheader and a button for a call to action. This is pretty standard on almost every website that's out there, and it's a great way to introduce people to what we're looking for. As you can see in our subheader there, we do have an M dash. And then for band 2, so just under that, it provides some examples or some suggestions on what the background will look like. So playing to that layout suggestion. And then it provided some copy for a paragraph. Then band 3, why are we choosing this location? We're getting right into how do we speak to our customers? And this is something that we outlined in our prompt. So we're trying to talk to these folks in a specific kind of way, and we're hitting the why right here at the beginning. And then right below that, what are the amenities? So what are the reasons or the things that would they would have to check off their list in order to make sure that this is a good example here? And again, it provides some layout examples, the copy, and it makes some suggestions here on using either photos or icons or something to that effect in both band 3 and band 4. So let's say ChatGPT provided this. What does iteration look like? So, and I'll say, hey, ChatGPT, what icons are we using for band 3? And it says, oh, good catch. I didn't make suggestions for icons in band 3, but let's make some suggestions specifically for Beaver Builder, which is the builder that I was using at the time. And it made several very good suggestions. So we'll do an icon of a tree or a leaf to kind of convey tranquility in the setting. We'll do an icon of some table and chairs or an open room to suggest group gatherings. So this is for a retreat center, so that's particularly useful. A bed icon for lodging and overnight stays, and hands joined together to kind of represent connection and community. So just by iterating a little bit, kind of what we had talked about in the beginning, doing a little of that iteration, we were able to kind of hammer home and hit what we were looking for in regards to this particular band of content because it wasn't originally provided. And it was a good way for me to kind of brainstorm and work out and outline what we're going for. So let's review some of what we talked about in the beginning in the first slides. Context is super important. We started by providing context for how to approach the prompt and what format we'd like to see answers in. Iteration, we've refined the content bands when there was not enough context. AI is good at pattern recognition. We provided guidelines for style and content. We provided it the web page that we are hoping to rewrite and asked it to rewrite it in the style and the word choice of that page. And fact versus fiction, we had to provide that initial information to ensure we were staying factual. And if you're not always on top of that, it will sometimes make suggestions just on its own and insert information into what you're looking for. So you have to be very diligent to make sure it's not doing that. Just before we get into the next set of slides, do we have any questions? Feel free to put them in the chat. And then we'll kind of get into some examples of different software that's out there beyond ChatGPT that have specific use cases. Looks like we had a question, is Copilot similar to ChatGPT? I have to be honest with you, I've never used Microsoft Copilot, so I don't know. My assumption, just based on the little information that I have, is that it's very similar, and you could probably do something like this with Copilot. And another question, I use Gemini. Does it translate the same? You won't get the same answers that I got using Gemini, or even if you use ChatGPT, than the prompt example that I just shown. But it will be very similar. And you can use the very similar or the same kind of prompt breakdown that I put in here for that as well. ChatGPT does have a free tier. I personally use the plus tier just based on my usages, but you could do the exact prompt that I just shown you in the free tier. I don't personally use agent mode in ChatGPT, so I don't know that. Just a reminder to folks, I am speaking about this from my seat of experience. So if I don't have experience with something, I'm not going to try to fudge it. I'm just going to let you know. I don't want to guide anyone down the wrong path based on advice that I don't have personal experience on. All right, and just in case there are any more questions rolling in, I'm going to get started on the next slide, and we'll address any more questions in a few minutes. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about specialized AI tools. And these are AI tools for specific use cases, and they can be incredibly helpful depending on your need. Many tools have overlapping features and vary in quality, so choose wisely. And a set of AI tools can become expensive very quickly. So my recommendation would be to set a budget for the problem that you want to fix and work within that budget. And tools can become tools on these lists as I go through them will be a little more complex at the bottom. So if you feel like you're not super comfortable with what we've gone through already, the tools at the top of the list will be a little easier to kind of move into. And tools that I personally marked or personally use are marked in green, and I can answer any specific questions that you might have about those tools in relation to my experience. So I'm a marketing guy, right? So I wanted to start with marketing. And this is one of those areas where there's a lot that can be done with AI, and there's a lot of help that you can get out of using AI in your marketing efforts. Of course, everyone knows about Canva. Canva has AI designs and graphics that can be used for social media posts. Particularly helpful that you can upload your brand colors and brand fonts, and it will kind of redesign some of the Canva templates with those colors and fonts in mind, which is a great way to get started at, what does your branding look like? Square, which is a website builder, makes content suggestions, has a built-in photo environment for e-commerce as well. Which is great. So you can just kind of take a photo of something that you're looking to sell, and it will automatically remove the background in the page where you're creating an e-commerce page for it. There are tools like Constant Contact where you can develop newsletters and email engagements automatically. It can also help do things like setting up drip campaigns and automatic emails on the back end as well. There's things like Marketing Blocks, which is a specialized marketing tool to develop marketing assets for multiple aspect ratios. And really what that means is if you're on a website and you see those banners on the side or at the top, or you're on social media and things are in the square format, Marketing Blocks will help create all of those different image sizes while using the same content so they all look the same, and you can do a marketing push with the same messaging, the same branding, the same colors, and the same imagery across multiple different channels. Then there's stuff like FeedHive, which recycles your content from social media and will take old successful social media posts, reword them a little bit, and then post them again for you so that you don't have to keep up with posting quite as much. And as marketing is a very broad industry, there are tools available for almost every kind of marketing project out there. And on the other end of the marketing spectrum, or on the creative side of the marketing spectrum, you have things like content development. Photoshop already has a very well built out AI, generative AI that allows you to fill, remove, extend, or replace objects in a scene. You can see it here on the right. An image on the top was the native image of a cruise ship in Portland. And on the bottom, I just asked Photoshop rather to remove the cars so that it would look like an empty street, and a little bit more of the focus could be on the cruise ship. And as you can see, it did a pretty good job at that. It added a bunch of windows to the main state pier for some reason, but it still looks pretty natural. There are also things like Runway, which I had used earlier in the presentation to generate the images of the beach. It can also do things like edit audio, video, or photos from text using existing media as a base. There's Steve AI, which allows for text or voice input to create live animations with video and stock footage. So basically, you record yourself speaking and then you upload it, and it will automatically insert animated video and stock images in there to kind of make a relevant video very quickly. You also have things like Synthesia, and this is where you may have heard of deep fakes in the past, or those talking head videos where it's a fake video, and this is done with avatars that lip sync text scripts. So you can upload a text script, you can upload a photo of yourself, and you can upload some voice samples, and it will create a video of just head and shoulders of you reading that text script using synthesized voice and video from the uploads that you had created, which is very interesting. Lumen 5 transforms text and content into videos using a drag and drop interface. These are all just different ways that you can utilize AI and different AI platforms to significantly speed up creative workflows. Then on the other side of the coin, you have things like copywriting. Grammarly is a phenomenal tool to analyze and generate written content for grammar, tone, and style. It's one that I use pretty regularly. You also have things like copy.ai, which is a marketing and blog focused content generation powered by ChatGPT. It's really good at getting those keywords in there. And then you have things like Jasper AI, which uh, I promise isn't Jasper from Score who's introducing me earlier. It's an AI platform where it generates human-like text. So it's kind of supposed to be an AI that doesn't sound like AI, and that's really its selling feature. One of the things to keep in mind when you're doing anything in the realm of copywriting and SEO is that you'll want to make sure you provide enough original content to avoid plagiarism, because all of the text that it's providing you is text that was basically rehashed and rewritten from someone else's information that they put out there. Just really quick, it looks like we may have had a few messages in the chat. Peggy, you will get the guide afterwards and the slides, and you should be able to get the image out of there very easily. All right. And then we can also do things like bookkeeping and accounting. And this is something where if you've been a business owner for a while, you've probably already used AI for this without knowing it. But auto entry and Expensify can automate receipt tracking. So if you've ever taken a picture of your receipt and uploaded it to like QuickBooks, for example, or your accounting software, that is a basic AI platform. There are things like Xero and QuickBooks, which are integrating AI into their software and allowing you to do things like cash flow projections or just have a discussion with your QuickBooks as if it were a CPA. There are things like Clockwork AI and Fathom, which are more in-depth plugins that allow for cash flow forecasting, scenario forecasting, and financial modeling. You can see an image of Clockwork AI here on the right, providing multiple different models based on previous information that it was provided. And then you have some tools that can also help file and fill out your taxes. I haven't included any here just because I don't know if we're had enough tax seasons to really make sure that that works correctly. And another thing to really consider is while AI can be very helpful, it's not a replacement for sound financial advice. Other areas it can be helpful for things like sales. Grab.ai will integrate with your accounting software to provide insights on customer purchasing habits. What this could look like is, let's say you have a customer who makes a big purchase every November. It'll let you know in October, hey, don't forget that John puts in a purchase for 10,000 extra widgets every November. You might want to reach out to him just to make sure that he still wants to do that this year. For also things like Einstein from Salesforce, which allows you to kind of talk to your Salesforce, allows you to talk to your Salesforce entries as if it were a ChatGPT. So it's almost like a custom ChatGPT just for your Salesforce information and your CRM information. There are things like Exceed by Genesis, which is a chatbot and email assistant that will automatically respond to emails and messages, allowing you to schedule meetings without having to actually take the time to look at your calendar, set aside time, and email folks. There are also there's KnowledgeNet, which is a tracking software that connects across your business, your employees, and your social networks, and it basically allows you to understand how hot or cold a lead might be, and it lets you know who might know someone from another organization that you're looking to interact with. So, as an example, let's say that you're looking to get in touch with one high-profile client that you think would be a good fit for your business. KnowledgeNet will allow you to know who you know that knows that person and how well they might know that person. So you might be able to ask for an introduction. And then on the end here, we also have things like personal productivity. And this is one of the areas that I think AI has been very helpful in. We're actually utilizing it right now with Zoom AI Summary. And Zoom's transcribe feature. These are built-in tools for Zoom that provide a meeting summary or a transcription of the meeting. This can be taken to the next level with something like Firefly's AI, which is a meeting summary bot that can automatically add notes to your CRM based on meeting notes. A note-taking software that I personally use is called Reflect, which allows you to backlink your notes and meeting notes so that you can cross-reference them with every other meeting or any other notes that you have. You can see an example of this in the slide here, where I had met with Dave from the Portland Media Center. And if you click on the link that says Dave or Portland Media Center here, it will bring up all the notes that I have about Dave or all the notes that I have about the Portland Media Center. And I can see how they're all interconnected. In a lot of ways, this is kind of like a personal Wikipedia of sorts for your notes. There's also Perplexity. I'd mentioned this earlier. It's a large language model that provides sources for its responses, and it's really good for research. Then there's also Rationale. We had kind of given an example of what a SWOT analysis could look like, or a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and tactics analysis. But there are also things like pros and cons and outcome analyses. And these are all native in Rationale to provide a way to kind of visually look at decision making. And there are also, of course, there are a lot of future tools to watch with AI. There are things like text to audio, converts articles or PDF into podcast-like recordings. This is something that you can utilize a little bit right now on Google's Notebook LM model. But I will say that it is very limited to like 5 to 15 minutes of podcast-like interaction, but it is very helpful and very useful for that. There are also things that will create a slide deck for you. It will automatically create slide decks using a bulleted list. This is something where I feel like the technology is not quite there yet to be fully usable, at least in my opinion. So feel free to play around with things like this, but it's something to keep on the radar. And if you've ever been a fan of like CSI in the past, and you've seen those moments where they say enhance that photo right there, enhance that footage, and you see it blow up and become much more clear in detail. That was never real technology that existed until recently, where they're using AI software to enhance the quality and resolution of images. So that is something that we will eventually have. And I just wanted to say that's the end of our presentation at the moment. I wanted to say thank you to everyone who has joined us. I'm going to go through the suggestions here, but if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, or feel free to unmute yourself and we can have a bit of a dialogue.
Yeah, thanks for a great presentation, Dan. As you said, now's a great time to throw questions in the chat if you have any. Leilani has a great anecdote here that they've used Gamma before for slide decks and thinks it makes a great foundation, you know, but not, I would say, expanding on that, probably not the final product.
Yeah. To be fair to slide deck creating AI, I haven't used them in about a year, so there's a good chance that there have been a lot of advancement on that front as well. I can put my LinkedIn profile in the chat.
Marshall, you have your hand up. Feel free to come off mute if you've got a question. If you have a question, feel free to unmute yourself. It should be down at the bottom of your screen. In the meantime, looks like we're a lot of thanks in the chats. We appreciate everyone attending today. In the meantime, I suppose I can read my spiel if people are still queuing up questions. I do want to thank everyone for attending today. I want to thank Dan for a great informative presentation with some new insights into the current AI landscape for business. I want to thank our proper sponsor today as well. Apologies earlier for that. I want to thank the Northern Savings Bank here in Maine for helping sponsor today's event. Shannon does have a great question. Do you know about any AI programs that you can use to help with a drips campaign? Drips?
Yeah, so drip campaign, just for those who might not know, is basically follow on emails. So if someone subscribes to your email list
Ah,
or automatic emails you might get, or any other action where you might have a automatic follow on. My recommendation is if you already have an email platform like Constant Contact, which is my preferred email platform, they already have built-in drip campaigns and tools that you can utilize for that. So I would recommend just taking a look at what you're already using. Plus, it's usually a lot easier than learning a new tool.
yeah, we like Dan said, we use Constant Contact on our day-to-day basis, and they're starting to integrate some pretty good resources.
They do sometimes use text. when Constant Contact does its like email AI recommendations, it will put text in there. I will say that 99% of the time, I would recommend replacing that, or if you feel the need, use ChatGPT or something to generate different text that's a little more on target.
Mm. Yeah, myself when I'm going into things like that, I like Gemini, but it's down to use cases for sure. Well, as we said earlier, we were recording today, and the copy of today's recording will be sent out once available. Eric asks, can AI/chat create voices based on your description of that person? That's an interesting question.
It won't be able to recreate their voice, if that's
Hmm.
kind of what you're asking. It will be able to create a voice. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of AI platforms are really just trying to give you a result that you like. Whether or not it's accurate is another question. So just always keep that in mind when you're working with AI.
Absolutely. Shannon does have a follow-up question about the drip campaigns. Do you know if they would also follow up via SMS or text message?
I'm pretty sure ChatGPT, or I'm sorry, I'm pretty sure Constant Contact does have that feature. Yes.
Cool. Um, do the GPT Joseph asks, do the GPTs that are set up have better confidentiality? I don't. I'm not.
Uh,
If you, yeah,
I mean, you can check a box that says "Don't use my information." Trusting that is another thing. I would personally not put anything that I would say is confidential into an AI model. That's kind of why I'd recommended, if you do have to put that kind of information in, just anonymize it to the best of your ability.
absolutely. I believe there was a recent, thing on earlier. People were asking about Copilot. I believe Copilot had to have a disclosure as people were starting to try and use it with their, spreadsheets and accounting, and it created some issues. So, I don't think the confidentiality is all there yet. Eric asks, is there a good way to get chat to recommend your business when people do a search? I believe that ties into search engine optimization.
Uh, I don't think there's a good way to get it to like spit your business's name out if someone's like going to ChatGPT and asking ChatGPT about like local restaurants in the area. I'm guessing like 9 out of 10 times it's probably going to be whatever it finds on Google. So increasing your normal SEO for Google results will probably do the same for ChatGPT results. I don't know that for sure. That's a very interesting question, though. I would love to be able to answer that more fully. I just don't have the knowledge.
Hmm. Yeah, Shannon adds, bots are reading your sites. You have to work on SEO. Shannon also adds, if there's another way to get in touch with you, you'll keep your eyes peeled from an email from me, Jasper, and I will include Dan's contact information in our follow-up today. Rachel adds, Copilot is safer for enterprises as far as not sharing queries for training, but it can highlight issues if employees have been incorrectly sharing confidential information internally. It's a great point to bring up.
Phenomenal point by Rachel there.
Yeah, Peggy, why don't you go ahead come off of mute and ask your question? Should be down on the bottom of your screen.
Yes, I'm looking for a um, email that I have. Claude sent out something that I question whether it's something we should do. So I wanted to read it to you. So if you could just hold 1 second while I find it. There it is. Okay. It says, hello, we're writing to inform you that important updates to our, let me see, move you over. Can't read it all. I'm going to make you smaller. Okay. There it is. Okay. All right. Updates to the consumer terms. It says as of September 28th, we choose to have updated. What they want to do is they want to improve it, but what they want to do is, with your permission, we would like to use your chats and coding sessions to train and improve our AI models. If you accept the updated consumer terms before September 28th, your preference takes effective immediately. If you choose to allow us to use your data for model training, it helps us, and it goes on. So they want to update the data retention and learn more about next steps. What is your thoughts on that?
So that's really common. The implication being that they haven't been already using the data provided to train the models is very interesting. I'm not. Again, this is, you have to decide who you want to trust when you pick a software or you pick a tool or you work with a business, right? So at the moment, we're trusting that they're not using our data in their models, and they're sending out this email to ask you to opt in to using the data or not using the data. So basically, they're letting you know that they're planning on using the data, and you can opt out, but then you have to trust whether or not they're actually opting you out.
So do you think it's worth saying yes to do that? Because I think they're getting ready to charge, and they're giving, bonuses to people that stay on here.
I really don't. It really depends on your comfort level with the information that you're providing it. I can't really make a suggestion one way or another on that. It really depends on how much you care about the information you're providing being public.
Okay, good point. Thank you.
Yeah, I think in general, the privacy statements on most AI models will, try and disclose that, but at the same time, most, if not all AI models are built on data entered into them. So, like Dan said, it comes down to how much you do trust said AI models and their statements.
Yeah, man, I hate to make it and like frame it around the idea of whether or not you trust the business. I think, especially in Maine, there's a lot of implicit trust that we give to each other as small business owners. But there have been a lot of leaks in regards to the tech world and the misuse of data over the years, to where it's hard to just extend that trust natively.
Mm.
Me personally, I don't put anything into an AI platform that I wouldn't be comfortable anyone seeing, or anyone looking at my Google search results or anything like that. Like, same thing with AI platforms. I try to be as conservative with privacy as I can.
Linda adds, "Be smart." I think that's a
Exactly.
great way to put it. Do we have any other questions? Let's see. Looks like another one in the chat. Zero native trust, says Rachel. I think that's especially with the AI models, since it is, learning from the stuff you put into it. It's a great way to put it. Do we have any other questions today? I know we covered a lot of topics here, and it's a new, fresh topic. It's kind of hot button. Sonia says, if opting in, suggest review for insight if information could be sold to third parties. I'm not totally sure if there are options for that in most in privacy policies, but Dan, what do you think?
I think what Sonia is saying here is, if you choose to opt in, you could make a suggestion on their help center to you know put that information out there in regards to whether or not that information is being sold. And I think that's a phenomenal point. If they're collecting your data and they want to reuse it to train their model, that's one thing. If they're collecting your data to resell it to data brokers, that's another.
Absolutely. Yeah, you see a lot of ones that do disclose that. So, but we're in a new playing field here with AI. So I'm not I'm I don't know if we're sure or not if it is being sold yet. They got to make their money somehow. So
And a lot of times that comes down to an individual business by individual business rather than the industry.
we're getting close to the end here, and maybe a bit of a downer way to end it, but while other people may be queuing things up, I do want to thank everyone for attending. It's really useful information, Dan, on one of the hottest button topics here, in business today. Joe asks if you know of any AI tools which can help generate client leads for a small AI business, for small AI businesses.
I mean, it would really depend on your business and who your audience is. My guess is that in a very similar capacity to marketing, if you own a marketing company, marketing your marketing business isn't as effective as you would assume. In the same capacity, I'm guessing using a lot of AI in your AI business is going to be less effective than you might think. Uh, Customers want to be able to know and trust you, and that's hard to do if there's a machine between you and your customers.
Mm. Rachel says Apollo.io. I'm not familiar with that one myself, but it may be a good resource. And hey, as we're getting close to the end here, again, I want to remind everyone we did record today. That recording and a copy of the slides will be sent out once they are available and posted to our YouTube channel. That YouTube channel also contains our Score Mains workshop library with dozens of videos on many other topics such as this, marketing, branding, business planning, and more. Do want to thank Dan again for a great presentation. In that email as well, there is a brief online survey. We would really appreciate you filling out. We take your feedback seriously and appreciate it. And if you're not familiar with us at SCORE, if this is your first workshop you're joining us for, SCORE offers free confidential one-on-one mentoring, whether you're starting or growing your business. It's easy to request a meeting with a mentor by visiting score.org and filling out a brief form by entering your zip code right on our homepage. And a little more background on us. We're a nonprofit partner of the SBA with chapters around the country, including 3 right here in Maine, and we helped start over 560 businesses in the state of Maine alone last year. Before we wrap up, are there any further questions? Rachel says their SCORE mentor suggested this seminar to them. That's awesome. Glad to hear the word's getting out there, especially this topic for sure. So that's great to hear. Thanks for attending. And thanks to your mentor for recommending it. Well, if there aren't any further questions, we can wrap up today. Dan, thanks again for another great presentation. And thanks one more time to today's sponsor, the Norway Savings Bank. And I want to thank everyone as well for attending today. We appreciate you guys, and I hope everyone has a great rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.